attacked Venezuela over the weekend and captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife. So just as I thought, Trump and I had very different New Year's resolutions. At least he did his.
They murdered comedy first. That was a tragic, tragic thing for them to do. The Democrat Party, they're just not funny anymore. What a world. Well, very happy Tuesday to you here in the United States of America, and welcome back once again. We remain at 888-630-9625. Funny story today. President Trump talked about Greenland. And in fact, when Jerome, the mental case, called in a while ago, he told Jasmine that he wanted to talk about Trump taking over Greenland. And I said, oh, that'd be a fun conversation with a liberal, with a Democrat. And then the racist, homophobic, anti-American, anti-capitalist, I don't mean to be redundant. He's a Democrat. These people. But I thought it'd be fun to go to him. I was wrong. It happens. Because I had a Greenland story in front of me already this morning because they say, Greenland is a giant island in the northern Atlantic Ocean. It's close to Iceland, perhaps, where we went last year on our annual sea cruise, as a matter of fact, and Iceland was fun. We didn't make it to Greenland, though. That made me sad. I did want to bounce over to Greenland for a beer, see if they have any local beer that you should taste. But the Greenland thing is kicking up because President Trump keeps looking at Greenland on the map and saying, why doesn't that belong to the United States instead of Denmark? What is Denmark going to do? Putin moves in. If the Chinese want it, what are they going to do? You need to have the United States, not Denmark. Come on. There's no Shakespeare play. So the headline from CNBC today is, quote, Greenland belongs to its people, end quote, colon. They love their colons. European leaders unite over Trump's threats to annex territory. Trump's threats to annex territory. And I saw Trump is threatening to annex all of Greenland or part of Greenland or as territory. It's just the most vague term you can use in that context. But hang on, because it gets better. The CNBC, it's an NBC News organization, right? And their own story says, European leaders rebuked U.S. President Trump over Greenland. They rebuked him, saying in a joint statement that the Arctic island, quote, belongs to its people, end quote. Trump has threatened to annex the Danish self-governing island. He's threatened. That's what it says. The NBC News wrote, Trump has threatened to annex the Danish self-governing island. That sounds like the whole island, right? And reiterated his desire to acquire it since the U.S. military action in Venezuela. In unrelated news, but, while you're all quaking in your moccasins. And now listen to this. This is the next sentence in the NBC story. It is for, quote, quotation mark, it is for Denmark and Greenland and them only to decide on matters concerning Denmark and Greenland, the European leaders said. Sure, that's it. But what did Trump say when he threatened to annex the islands? Because that's what you guys just said. Sounds like a military takeover of Greenland, which I think has a standing army of 4 people. But never mind that. European leaders Tuesday issued a joint statement to push back Tuesday because, they're hours ahead of us, to push back against President Donald Trump's renewed interest in Greenland. Well, he is in the way of acquiring, and he's a real estate guy, saying security in the Arctic must be achieved collectively. There's that word again, collectively. Isn't that great? Just amazing. The Kingdom of Denmark, including Greenland, is part of NATO, the statement said. Yeah, Greenland is our most important NATO ally. That's, again, a standing army of 4 guys standing around drinking. But never mind that. According to the letter published by Denmark's Prime Minister's office on X. It's good because when it was Twitter, who knows whether they'd be able to. That's another thing. But where is the quote of President Trump threatening to annex Greenland? I don't see that. Is he threatening to annex? No, actually, he's talked about it. But do we have a Greenland soundbite? Trump, we have a Trump Greenland sound. This is from Air Force One, night before last, coming back to Washington from Florida.
I will say this about Greenland: we need Greenland from a national security situation. It's so strategic. Right now, Greenland is covered with Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security, and Denmark is not going to be able to do it. I can tell you.
Yeah, well, that's undoubtedly true. And hey, Denmark, let's you guys go out and take care of Russia and China, would you? Because that's a fair fight there, isn't it? Just amazing. The U.S. president, that'd be Donald Trump, who has long advocated for control over the self-governing Danish territory, they're going to say it again and again, told NBC Fake News on Monday that he was very serious. He said very serious with his intent to acquire Greenland. Trump also said he had no timeline for doing so. However, they say alarm bells have been ringing in Denmark. We should ask the Queen. They have a Queen, right? Don't they have a Queen? Hey, Jerome, is the Queen another cross-dresser since you're so obsessed with that? I don't think their Queen is a man. It's a very nice country, very nice people. Been there a number of times, Denmark, and a wonderful, pretty place. And I haven't been to Greenland. I want to get there. But what are you guys doing with Greenland? It's gigantic. It's huge. And it's covered with ice. Iceland is more green, and Greenland is more ice. That's one of the great ironies on planet Earth, but never mind that. I mean, it's a gigantic island. And the Arctic region, the northern, not the Antarctic, the South Pole, but the North Pole, in play. And the Russians are trying to take everything over because they're commies. And it's what they do. Yes, they are. Yes, sir. All right, let's go to, let me see. Let's go. Oh, this is great stuff. Let me get back to the Democrats and Venezuela, because Nicolas Maduro appeared in court yesterday and pled not guilty, along with his loving bride, his wife, who also pled not guilty. And they're guilty as hell. And I love the story about his nephews being in prison in the United States for being drug traffickers, and then they took hostages, including 5 oil company executives, threw them in prison forever, and then said, well, maybe we can do a prisoner exchange, since we have hostages that we've taken, and you guys have arrested my nephews because they're drug traffickers. This is what the commies do. They steal everything. They kill everybody. That's what they do. But this is pretty great stuff, I've got to say. Chuck Schumer on Sunday came out to the cameras, which he loves to do, which is kind of ironic. You should find a mirror, but never mind that. And on Sunday on Capitol Hill, he went to the cameras. Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. He was on ABC, a very friendly Democrat network. George Stephanopoulos, former Democrat Capitol Hill staffer, Democrat Bill Clinton staffer in the Clinton White House for 8 years. And then, hey, let's make him our lead anchor and pay him $25 million a year to be a Democrat. Here's Chuck Schumer on Sunday, just with the ridiculous lies, keeping in mind that the Democrats were president when we got into Vietnam, into the Korean War, into World War II, into World War I, and, of course, the Confederate president into the American Civil War. But here's Chuck Schumer yesterday with his phony, blustery lie.
The American people are worried that this is creating an endless war.
No, we're not.
The very thing that Donald Trump campaigned against over and over and over again was no more endless wars, and right now we're headed right into one. With no barriers, with no discussion. This is reckless. And the American people are just, this morning, in fear of what's going to happen here.
I can't imagine a bigger liar, but there might be a bigger liar on Capitol Hill. He is he's a virus. He's a disease. He's a psychopath. He's getting us into endless war. Where's the war? Poop for brains? Honestly. Excuse me, Senator Poop for Brains. It's an endless war with no barriers. No barriers. An endless war with no barriers. Yeah, there you can see the nukes flying now. If you make the lie big enough, as their guy Joseph Goebbels used to say, no one will dare to not believe it. Yeah, he's getting us into an endless war. I'm sorry, what? Joe Biden came into office, war broke out in the Middle East, war broke out in Europe. And the war's still going on in Ukraine. And Putin attacked Ukraine and the Crimea under Barack Obama's presidency when Joe Biden was president. Then Joe Biden amazingly got in with a record number of votes in the history of the United States in a perfectly legitimate election. And millions and millions of Democrats came out. More Democrats came out to vote for Joe Biden than for Hillary Clinton or for Barack Obama, which makes all their voters racists and sexists. Doesn't it? Misogynist, racist. And that it. Now, we just played that Chuck Schumer from day before yesterday, less than 48 hours ago, I think. Definitely less than 48 hours ago. And getting us into endless war, everything he ran against. American people are all living in fear. It's endless war with no barriers, right? Why? Because the president had Nicolas Maduro, international drug cartel kingpin, arrested, and it's a foreign country, which has happened before. And he pretends to be the president of Venezuela, but he was never actually elected president. He stole the presidency, and the Democrats are fine with that. Stealing elections, trafficking in drugs, child sex trafficking. The Democrats are like, hey, we like Nicolas Maduro. We like Venezuela. But here's, with no sense of irony, I like to point out that they have no sense of irony. Here's Chuck Schumer again, this time from, let's see, it's almost 6 years ago now, when Joe Biden was in the White House. And, I'm sorry, it's February of 2020. I apologize. It's the last year of President Trump's first term. And Chuck Schumer was out there pounding the table and being angry and attacking Donald Trump in his last year of his first term over Nicolas Maduro. Why do you let Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela just run free out there? Why don't you do something about Nicolas Maduro?
The president brags about his Venezuela policy? Give us a break. He hasn't brought an end to the Maduro regime.
Oh.
The Maduro regime is more powerful today and more entrenched today than it was when the president began his anti-Maduro. Same thing with North Korea.
Same thing with we got to nuke North Korea. They have a nuclear arsenal. They're fanatical communists, again, communists. And look where the bad guys are. North Korea, the communist Kim Jong-un, and he inherited the country from his dad. It's almost better than being Hunter Biden. And just amazing, amazing stuff. Yeah, attacking Trump. Well, Maduro's still there. And now he goes and gets Maduro. No Americans, there are apparently 2 Americans wounded that we haven't heard any details about because journalism is dead in the United States of America. They murdered it. The left murdered it. And just extraordinary stuff. But there he is in 2020, February of 2020, attacking Trump, ridiculing Trump, mocking Trump because... Come on, you haven't even put an end to the Maduro regime. And then Schumer comes out when President Trump puts an end to the Maduro regime and one of the most masterful military operations in modern times. And they just couldn't be bigger criminals. What a rectal aperture this man is, honestly. Hey, keep it clean. Keep it clean over there. I did. And then here's Schumer yesterday. And he got the Maduro briefing from the executive branch. Certain members on Capitol Hill got the briefing. And here's Chuck Schumer after he got the briefing about the Maduro raid.
This briefing, while very extensive and long, posed far more questions than it ever answered. Their plan for the U.S. running Venezuela is vague, based on wishful thinking, and unsatisfying. I did not receive any assurances that we would not try to do the same thing in other countries.
On completely different subject, the briefing was on the Maduro raid in Venezuela and other countries. I don't know, Barack Obama bombed and attacked at least 8 countries around the world while he was president, and Schumer didn't object to anything. Hey, what did Barack Obama accomplish anyway? I guess we got Obamacare, which is the third world, the gateway to the third world. They want to take away your rights, take away your guns, take away your free speech, take away your right to freely practice your religion. First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment. Hey, spying on everybody, Obama, spying on Trump, spying on people in Trump's orbit and his circle. They are the third world. Wherever the left goes, they bring the third world with them in a kind of a briefcase. Maybe a rolling bag for the American Democrats. They need a little more space. Just amazing. Funny moment on The View yesterday. Awkward, having to do with Maduro.
Did I hear you correctly say that perhaps he was influenced by Gurgle?
So Nicolas Maduro, the now removed Venezuelan non-president, he's in jail until when? March? Until March is next. He was in court yesterday saying not guilty. And next time in court will be March. In the meantime, he's going to be his neighbor in that jail is Luigi Mangione, the CEO killer. And as I saw reports this morning that they were out in the yard playing pickleball. They were playing pickleball, and then they went back inside. I just made that up. They're in isolation because, All right, let's go back to the telephones, Michael. And then I'm going to get to The View and some of this other crazy stuff. But let's go to Jerry calling from the Commonwealth of Virginia. Geraldo, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris.
Hey.
First time talking to you. I've been there since the beginning.
Welcome, my friend. Welcome.
I had to be one of the first 5 callers on that fateful day when you were taken off the air.
No kidding. Is that right? Oh, that's fun.
Yep. I left a message.
That is great. That's great.
I kept it civil.
Oh, that's thoughtful. I appreciate that.
I let them know.
That is great. Thank you.
Yep. Hey, I was wondering, all the media and the libs, they're all setting their hair on fire with Maduro, what's going in. Well, what could we do if Bibi and Israel arrested Mandami?
If Israel... so that's interesting. That's a can of worms I hadn't even thought of. Because Mamdani has threatened or promised to arrest Netanyahu, right?
Yes, and he's also a supporter of Hamas and CARE, and we, legally, there's a legal trail there that Israel could arrest him. I don't know, but I'm thinking that he could be arrested, and could we stop him?
If Israel, since we went into Venezuela and grabbed Maduro, you're saying, in this context.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And in this context, because they're saying that anybody can arrest anybody now because they're all worried about destabilization of the world. And so I was just wondering, what if Israel could have legitimate charges against
Mamdani and grab him, which they could certainly accomplish if they set out to. Mamdani the commie. Interesting, fun point, Jerry. Would it be unfair to just start calling the Democrats the commies? Because so many of them are actually commies. They've been galloping to the left for decades now. They took over academia like an invading army. They took over the vast majority of the national news media like an invading army. They own the message. Information dominance is key to winning when everything you tell people is a lie. Isn't that amazing? But let's go. If I want to get to that commie woman, another video has surfaced of that commie woman in New York who's in charge of housing under Mamdani, because Mamdani is. He's definitely a commie. He's a total commie. He's a fascist commie. That's right. Isn't that left and right? Not really. Ask anybody who's lived under fascism and or communism, and they'll tell you all about it. The daylight between them is quite minimal. All right, let's go to The View before I get back to that New York lady. The View yesterday. Whoopi Goldberg is paid millions of dollars by ABC News, like she's a journalist. And she's sitting there, and she's got Ana Navarro, who is sitting there with the View people. And they got that Sonny and Whoopi. You got Sonny Host in there. And Sonny and Whoopi and Joy. Sonny and Whoopi and Joy. How ironic. 3 of the most miserable people on the planet named Sonny and Whoopi and Joy. Honestly. They're going to get in an old convertible T-Bird and drive it off a cliff out in the Grand Canyon. Let's go to, that was actually in Utah, but let's go. They named the cliff where Thelma and Louise drove the old T-Bird off the cliff. that point is now, I've been there, is now called Thelma and Louise Point or something like that. They named that part of the mountain after the movie Thelma and Louise because they drove the T-Bird off the cliff there. So now it's a tourist attraction. All right, let's get back to Whoopi and Joyless and Sonny, the ironically named. Again, no sense of irony. Here's Whoopi.
While perhaps no one is going to miss a tyrant like Maduro.
Perhaps.
Is this a legal thing? I mean, who voted for this? Who said, hey, yeah, go on in there and do this? So what is this all about?
Yeah, this perhaps we weren't going to miss this terrible tyrant, but she wants to know who voted for this. Well, I think President Trump's been talking about the drug trafficking coming out of South America, and I can tell you the Biden administration and ABC News and The View didn't talk about it when we had 100,000 Americans a year dying from fatal drug overdoses. And I think this year, last year now, 2025, I think we hit 84,000 fatal drug overdoses or something, which is a number much greater than we lost in the entire Vietnam War between 1959 and 1975. And the Democrats shrug, and they honestly don't care. That's the thing about them. They're the left. And here's Whoopi, the ironically named Whoopi. Oh, perhaps nobody's going to miss this tyrant, this dictator who stole the election, who's a major global figure in the drug trafficking industry. Perhaps he's become filthy, filthy rich off it. And his family, Hugo Chavez, his commie predecessor there, the glories of socialism, the warm embrace of socialism. Hugo Chavez's daughter in Venezuela is apparently worth more than $4 billion. More than $4 billion. She picked up some extra shifts down at the airport. She works a lot of overtime. But Whoopi said, I mean, who voted for this? What's this all about? That they deflect and they defend drug traffickers, tyrants, people that torture their political prisoners. And Whoopi's like, who voted for this? Ana Navarro was sitting there.
Your question, who voted for this? Mm-hmm. The people in South Florida, the Venezuelan community, the Cuban-American community, the Nicaraguan-American community voted for this. And for us, this is a very, very happy day when we see a dictator who has been part of oppressing and abusing the Venezuelan people for 25 years, when we see him in handcuffs and held to some sort of accountability. It brought me to tears. It brought me great joy.
It brought me to tears. It brought me great joy. Can you imagine such a thing? Isn't that amazing? Ana Navarro was born in Nicaragua. And she, works as a political strategist and things like that. And she works for CNN and for ABC, and she goes on The View because that's an ABC News show, believe it or not. But isn't that amazing? And she said she was so happy to see Maduro removed that it brought her to tears. And Whoopi and the gang, they were completely befuddled by this, confused. And Whoopi and Happy and Joy then turned to Sonny.
But are you okay with the way that it was done?
But you can, I think both things can be true.
Okay.
I think you can criticize and ask questions and have concerns about the way it was done and what this means in the future.
Right.
And I think you can still celebrate that this murderous, corrupt, sadistic son of a bitch is out of Venezuela.
Yeah.
Because he has... I think there's 8 million Venezuelan exiles all over the world. People have fled from this man's tyrannical rule.
But the Democrats aren't impressed by that. They're like, tyrannical rule. It's overstated, isn't it? Because what they're moving toward here, what they're galloping toward here now, is tyrannical rule in the United States. Going after our economy, looking to steal all of our money, stripping us of our rights. And we are turning into a third world country at an extraordinary rate of speed. Truly amazing stuff. Yesterday I played, because the Democrat Party is becoming a communist party, and they're seizing power in the United States, and a corrupt media is key to that, of course. They all sleep with each other, and I don't think they sleep. But yesterday I played audio for you of this woman named Sia Weaver. Her first name is spelled C-E-A. Isn't that like a government organization abbreviation or something? And when she leaves, do people say, Sia? Sia Weaver is her name, and I played some audio of her yesterday. She's the tenant advocate director for the city of New York now under Zohran Mamdani, a jihadi, commie, anti-Semite, anti-American, anti-capitalist, and the Democrats voted him in to be mayor of New York. I got to tell you, just extraordinary stuff. Where they're going to be taking away property and all that. But here's Sia Weaver, new tenant advocate director in the city of New York.
For centuries, we've really treated property as an individualized good and not a collective good. Mm-hmm. And we are going to transitioning to treating it as a collective good and towards a model of shared equity will require that we think about it differently. And it will mean that families, especially white families, but some POC families who are homeowners as well, are going to have a different relationship to property than the one that we currently have.
Different relationship to property, meaning anything the state wants, we're going to take, because we believe that political power comes from the barrel of a gun, because that's what the Democrat Party has taught us over the last handful of years. They are not on our side. Boy, are they not on our side. We're going to transition to shared equity, meaning everything that you and your father and your grandfather and your great-grandmother worked for and earned, and you have property, they're going to do everything they can to reallocate. That's a euphemism for steal, especially white families, because she's a white racist, a self-loathing white racist. They created a generation of self-loathing Jews, self-loathing white people, self-loathing males, self-loathing heterosexuals. The left is a mental illness. It's not just that they are mentally ill. They are a mental illness. Transition to shared equity. Really? Let's start sharing your equity this afternoon. What do you say? See ya. There's Sia Weaver. But since yesterday, when I played that clip for you, another clip has emerged of Sia Weaver. And it's just, here she is talking about how they're going to decide you're a slumlord, and they're going to steal your property. This is what the commies do. All right? This is, honestly, it's what they do. I've spent a certain amount of time in Greece, probably a couple of months that I've spent in Greece. I love Greece. Greece is the greatest. It's just so wonderful. Remember the actor Anthony Quinn, Zorba the Greek. He played Zorba the Greek. And he really loved Greece, and he was making a lot of money when he was a big movie star. And he bought a bunch of property in Greece, a nice bay, a cove, and on the water, wonderful, beautiful. And at the 1970s, I believe, I'll have to look up the date, the year, a socialist government came into power in Greece, and they stole Anthony Quinn's property from him. So there's this Anthony Quinn Bay or Anthony Quinn Harbor or whatever it's called, and they stole it from him. So he didn't, and they still call it Anthony Quinn, named after Anthony Quinn because he lived there and he was a famous movie star and Zorba the Greek and all that stuff. But these people, they will steal your property. And this lady, Sia, she's on a tear, and they're coming for your rights, they're coming for your money, they're coming for your property, and they do it with a smile. It's what was that? The book Liberal Fascism was by, and it was good with the yellow smiley face with a swastika on it. Liberal Fascism, and it was all about what was happening to the Democrat Party years ago. Yeah, right. It was Jonah Goldberg, of course, and it was a good book. It really was a smart book, serious book, good book. Here's Sia Weaver. She's the latest wave of the Democrat Party.
The mechanisms for acquiring distressed housing could look different on a building-by-building basis. It might happen through the legal process. A couple of days ago, one of the most notorious slumlords in the city, his name is Ob Shalom, he was arrested because he is treating his tenants so badly, hundreds of thousands of open code violations. In cases like that, where the city is actively pursuing already sort of litigation and enforcement mechanisms against the landlord, the SHDA is an option. We can say, hey, you are not maintaining this building, and we are the city of New York. We have an interest in making sure that housing is well maintained, and we're going to take this building away from you.
And we're going to, we have she said that this building had hundreds of thousands of violations. And what was the landlord's name? Israel. Landlord's last name is Israel. I'm sorry, it's Dov Shalom. Dov Shalom Israel? Or is it just Dov Shalom? Dov Shalom. And so we're gonna take your property away. This is the stuff of shooting wars in third world hellholes, and it's the Democrat Party today, and they're out of the closet and they're saying it out loud. Isn't that amazing? And let's since we're in this, and that's see ya, New York. Honestly, let's go to number 23, Zohran Mamdani. He's amazingly the mayor of New York City in the United States of America, and the Democrats, they're anti-human because they're leftists, and the leftists, you have to be anti-humanity in order to murder 100 million people, as they have in the last 100 years, and to take over countries and brutalize and enslave people and create the Gulag Archipelago. And we don't teach the 20th century in school and on college campuses. But here's Zohran Mamdani. The problem with America is rugged individualism, which is, of course, what created the United States of America and had to fight through savages and Indians and hi, how are ya, and all that stuff. Zohran Mamdani, it's time, and now it's time for the warm embrace of collectivism. We keep hearing this word, collectivism. This is the Marxist playbook, and everything is about race, class, and gender with these people. That is the Marxist playbook. And here is Zohran Mamdani being anti-male masculinity, rugged individualism.
We will draw this city closer together.
No, you won't.
We will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism.
The warmth of collectivism. And as we played another soundbite yesterday that said the warm embrace of collective. They're using collectivism rather than socialism, right, as a term. Yeah, they're really some. And let's keep in mind, remember during the Obama administration, we played the audio, and NPR did not, of an Obama administration official named Ron Bloom, who they reveal themselves from time to time.
We know this is largely about power, that it's an adults-only, no-limit game. We kind of agree with Mao that political power comes largely from the barrel of a gun.
They kind of agree with Mao Zedong, history's #1 mass murderer of humanity, that all power, political power, all power comes from the barrel of a gun. Yeah, that's how they murdered 100 million people. They starved millions to death and brutalized and beat millions to death as well. Anita Dunn, a senior official in the Obama administration. Barack Obama was mentored by a member of the Communist Party, an active member of the Communist Party named Frank Marshall Davis. When Barack Obama was a teenager, his mentor, his hero, was a member of the Communist Party named Frank Marshall Davis. And remember, they hired Van Jones, who self-identified as a communist. They brought in Ron Bloom, who agrees with Mao Zedong. They brought in Anita Dunn.
Two of my favorite political philosophers, Mao Zedong and Mother Teresa.
Just hilarious, yeah, Mother Teresa and Mao Zedong. Mao would have murdered Mother Teresa, of course, because that's what Mao did. And then at NBC News, they have anchormen and anchorwomen, people like Lawrence O'Donnell.
Unlike you, I am not a progressive. I am not a liberal who's so afraid of the word that I had to change my name to progressive.
I'm not either.
Liberals amuse me. I am a socialist. I live to the extreme left. Great. The extreme left of you mere liberals, okay?
The most murderous death cult in the history of humankind. And they cute-seated up. They've dressed like Jonah Goldberg's book, the fascist, the Nazi, the swastika with a smiley face on it. And they've repackaged the most dastardly, blood-drenched death cult and political movement in the history of the world. And the Democrats in the United States are bringing it back. As far as they're concerned, the Cold War is not over until they say it's over. So New York City's Sia Weaver, we should give her, we should kidnap her at home and fly her down to Venezuela and drop her off in Caracas with a bag of crackers. Sia Weaver had a Twitter account. She canceled her Twitter account just a couple of days ago, I think, a few days ago, when she was appointed to be the communist in charge of housing in New York City. Sia Weaver wrote on her Twitter in 2018, said, "There is no such thing as a good gentrifier. Yeah, because you don't want to improve neighborhoods, make them better, clean them up, nothing like that. So let's leave it a crime-ridden, drug-addled filth hole where nobody works and everybody rolls out of somebody else's bed at noon and goes and commits a crime and then goes back to sleep. But listen to this. She says, there's no such thing as a good gentrifier. Only people who are actively working on projects to dismantle white supremacy and capitalism, and people who aren't. She's dismantling white supremacy and capitalism. From what I can tell, she's whiter than I am. She's a white woman. She's mentally ill, white self-loathing. It's a Democrat Party value. And she wrote, 2022, said, instead of blaming folks for not having access to a mortgage in a rich neighborhood, when she doesn't understand mortgages or rich neighborhoods, and all that comes with that, we could tax the rich. That's a good idea. Invest in the public good. Stop all evictions. She's obviously not a landlord. And fund safe, stable public housing for everyone. Happy Mother's Day, she wrote. Well, said, wait, public housing for everyone? But you guys have been in charge of safe public housing for generations now. How's that going? You die of a drug overdose this morning? And she wrote in 2017, Sia Weaver, rent control and public housing for everyone, you guys. Rent control and public housing. You don't need to control the rent if it's public housing. You're a stupid person, too. Massive government intervention to solve gentrification. Don't want to improve cities. You want to destroy them. Isn't that amazing? I agree with you unless you're talking about rent control, which is a perfect solution to everything. Everything must be rent control. The government, the state, must control absolutely everything. This country built wealth for white people through genocide, she wrote. Slavery, stolen land and labor, white supremacy built the North and the South. This is, she's now a senior official in New York.